All right, well, we're going to get ready to get started. Again, as you're getting settled, feel free to throw your answer in the chat or in the poll there about entrepreneurship kind of journey and where you're at. My name is Susan Arnold Christian. I work full-time for SHPE. I work out of Kansas City, Missouri, and just so excited to be here. This has been a long journey for us, starting to talk about this many, many, many months ago. And I know that, frankly, the work of entrepreneurship has been with SHPE since the first day in that garage, right? With Rod Garcia and the founders. They were our entrepreneurs starting this not-for-profit. And so I'm really excited to honor the work that they started here and delving into some new programming content for our members as well. So I'm going to end that poll really quickly and just share the results so you all can see who all is kind of here. Looks like we've got a lot of people who are exploring and learning. And what I will say about myself is that's where I'm at too. I call myself a fangirl of the entrepreneurs and just love to be here to support the work that they're doing. Really quickly, just a couple of things before we get into the panel. I don't know about you guys, I sit in on a lot of virtual meetings all day long. Cameras are awesome if you feel comfortable to do that. Seeing your faces, seeing expressions, seeing head nods, all of those things just make it so much more fun when when our panelists are speaking, where they can kind of see you. I will ask if you will mute your microphone if you're not speaking. There definitely will be time during the Q&A to unmute your microphone and engage in the conversation. But while you're not speaking, just to help with sound quality, please mute yourself. Engage in the chat, in the Q&A. We've got both open for you all. I will say within the Q&A, be super helpful if you're not going to unmute and ask your question directly to the panel, if you will throw your questions in the Q&A so we can better manage those questions and make sure that we get to them. Sometimes they get lost in the long chatter of the chat. So if you've got a question you want to ask the panel, please do put that in the Q&A. You all will be able to see each other's questions that you post, and you will be able to upvote each other's questions. So if you're like, ooh, I want that one too, upvote it, because we'll get to as many of the questions as we can, but probably those ones that get the most upvotes will get the first hit of hitting the answer. And then we will have a closing survey that will pop up for you at the end of this event. Please give us your feedback. This is our very first virtual event on this topic, and we definitely want to get your feedback as we learn and grow what your needs are and what you're looking for. Just a very, very quick intro to this program. So there's a couple QR codes here that you might want to check out. Our webpage with more information about the program, and then also the LinkedIn community. I will say the LinkedIn community here in number one, the community building, that is for SHPE members only. So we do check SHPE membership for you to be able to join in that LinkedIn community. And if you want to know more about joining SHPE, feel free to message me. I'm happy to talk with you about that. And then we also have, of course, this virtual event, but we have planned to do one event a month for the whole year. So we're already working on December, January, and February, and we'll have more information about those coming soon. And we also have a team that is working on what do we do at National Convention regarding entrepreneurship. And we do know there used to be an entrepreneurship track. Is that the direction that we go, or looking at other things? But what I want to say about just the welcome to this is a community. This is not me. This is not the people who are on this call. There are about 17, 18 people on the team of SHPE members who are helping us drive this program. And so we've got people working in each one of these three areas in teams and helping them bring content and ideas. So happy to see where this grows and what happens from it. But I'm going to stop talking and introduce you to Lonnie Halstead-Ruelas, who's going to be our moderator for the panel and our guide through the conversation tonight. Lonnie is one of our amazing committee members who stepped up and said, I will be willing. And I so appreciate that. You can see a little bit about her here and her journey some very exciting things. I mean, when I hear about human-robot interaction and AI, Lonnie, trust me that this will not be the last event that I told you to come, to come help with. Very exciting research that you're doing, and love that you're so engaged and involved. And so thank you for being willing to step up and to lead on this. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Lonnie and let her guide us through this conversation. And just a reminder, please throw in the chat, you're welcome. Use this time to network with each other. Share where you're joining in from tonight, but use that Q&A piece to post your questions. Lonnie, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much for the introduction, Susan. So hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining the virtual panel today. We're so excited to have you. So today we're honored to be joined by three incredible leaders whose work spans biotech, organizational transformation, and sustainable innovation. Let me briefly introduce them. So starting with Dr. Isaac Rodriguez, co-founder and chief science officer of SHPE, a biotech company transforming wound care through FDA-cleared collagen and honey technologies. SHPE has raised over 10 million, secured global patents, completed clinical trials, and has been featured by Apple, 60 Minutes, USA Today, Forbes, and many more. Beyond his entrepreneurial accomplishments, Isaac serves on several community and education-focused boards and is a SHIP Star Entrepreneur Award recipient. Luz Blanca Flores is a change leadership coach, organizational development expert, certified Lean Six Sigma Master Black Belt, PMP consultant, and adjunct professor in graduate programs. Luz is the owner of Loving All of You, where she guides leaders and teams through transitions using tools that build sustainable systems with love, compassion, and creativity. She has coached and trained hundreds, helping people embrace change with confidence and clarity. And last but not least, Dr. Abigail Abby Avila, founder of Alga Earth, a biomaterials startup developing biodegradable algae-based packaging that replaces single-use plastics. With a background in biomedical engineering and experience in product formulation and testing, she brings scientific rigor to sustainable materials innovation. She is part of the St. Louis University New Venture Accelerator, advancing R&D and early prototypes while championing representation and access for first-gen students in STEM and entrepreneurship. We're so grateful to have all you here for this panel. So before we begin, just a quick reminder of our discussion rules. As we go throughout the questions and you have your own questions, please add them to the Q&A, not the chat, so that we can keep track of them. And that way you're also able to comment and upvote the ones that you want most answered. And so we're gonna do a Q&A portion, and then afterwards, we're gonna open it up to the audience, and we'll do our best to try and get to as many as possible. So the first question for each of our panelists is, can you take a moment to share any part of your journey or story that wasn't mentioned in your bio? Whoever would like to start.
I don't mind kicking it off. You introduced me first, so thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. One thing that wasn't mentioned on my bio is I'm on the SHIP National Board of Directors as well. So I was a chapter president 20 years ago at the University of Virginia. So if there's any students out there, I spent the last 20 years building up my academic career and then professional career now as an entrepreneur, but then also continuing to be involved in SHIP. But just a little bit more, about me is I started my company Sweet Bio with my sister. She has her MBA degree, so we started 10.5 years ago, and we've raised 10 million over those past 10 years, so about $1 million a year. And it's taken us several years. The first several years we focused on getting through the FDA with our medical device product. Then once we got through, we focused on building up manufacturing and scaling and different models, like how do we get insurance coverage, and then we started working on clinical trials. And my job as an engineer just over those past 10.5 years has really changed, right? Because you're in product development and you're proving the technology. And I was the CEO up front. And then once we got through the FDA, my sister became the CEO because she has a business background. We're a business, we're selling. So I've really changed what I'm doing every day, not so much biomedical engineering, but more project management, process design optimization, manufacturing optimization. I'm doing clinical trials. I'm managing clinical trials. I'm designing them. I'm working with doctors, building up different type of evidence, working with our patent strategy as well, so we can protect our idea globally. Not so much R&D because we're a small 4-person full-time team. We manage maybe 10 people total. We outsource manufacturing, but I share all this because everything we've done in the past 10.5 years, we've been a really lean, small team to make it happen where everyone has to learn and pitch in. So I'm excited to dive into some of the questions and share more of my experience. But that's a little bit more about me that I hope spurs some questions as we go through the panel.
All right, thank you so much. Who'd like to go next?
I can go next, kind of in the order of being interviewed. Thank you for having me on here. I too, like Isaac, started as a chapter president, was part of the team that started our chapter many moons ago, so like 30 years ago, back in the day at Cooper Union in New York City. And I actually was introduced to leadership concepts through SHPE. And it really gave me a different perspective about what kind of role I could have in my organizations. I'm a mechanical engineer by training, but I didn't really like designing. I could understand the technical components of things. I could translate them to people who weren't technical and found my niche through all of that. So I have a lot of gratitude in all of my journey as a chapter president, regional student rep, and then, on committees. And so I would say the biggest piece of my bio that wasn't there were all of the things that didn't work. That it wasn't just I started business and it was perfect. I tried several different businesses. I had a fitness center. I had properties. And some of them worked for a while and then they were done. So the idea of this kind of serial entrepreneur, folks talk about that, but it is really part of being an entrepreneur, is that you're constantly innovating, you're constantly recreating, constantly moving into a different space and evolving to what makes sense for you now and what makes sense for the industry that you're in. And that journey itself doesn't always make sense as it's happening, but when you get to a point where you're looking back, like I am, like 30 years back, I'm like, oh, that's why that all makes sense now. So yeah, that's one piece that, we don't get to tell you, we tell you like a linear journey, but it's never linear. It's rather circular and spiral.
Thank you. All right.
I guess
Ab-
I'll go next. Abby Avila, thank you so much, everybody who joined on the call today. And I'm really excited to be here just to share my insights and a little bit about my journey. Something that wasn't included in my bio, I'm actually like a hybrid entrepreneur. So I actually have a full-time job aside from my venture. And that's actually a decision I took upon myself, right, to explore this startup ecosystem, even being in industry for roughly about 3 years. So that's definitely, I'm pivoting into a different world. So definitely anybody on the call who is going to graduate or is currently in industry, you can still explore starting your own business, right? Whatever that may be. And also too, I've been involved in SHPE for a very long time, roughly around 10 years. Actually was started as the students relations chair. So definitely giving back to the community, somehow connecting both university students and to professionals. So it's a really great passion of mine. Currently, right now, I serve as the students relations chair here at St. Louis professional chapter. So definitely, if you're in the St. Louis area, I'd love to connect and then help anybody out. But yeah.
Right. Thank you all for sharing more about yourselves. Let's get into some of the questions then. So Luz, you have such a rich background in entrepreneurial efforts. How did your cultural background and community influence your path to entrepreneurship, both the challenges and the strengths?
Thank you, Lonnie. Yeah, I think each of the ideas I'm going to share are both a challenge and an opportunity. I'm a Puerto Rican girl from the Bronx. Like we have a very unique approach to the world, rather direct. I had to learn a lot about how to navigate the political environment. And I don't mean the big P politics. I mean the like business politics, the navigating sales and customer service, et cetera. And it's interesting that I would say like there are two big things that were challenges and opportunities that come from the cultural background that I have. One is hard work. Like we work really hard. And while that is great to have a grind and to keep going at things, sometimes we keep running into a wall and other things are beyond our scope of influence in our sphere of influence. So for example, I tried really hard to learn marketing. I'm an engineer. Marketing is not my thing. I need to hire out or find folks who I can lean on to do that kind of work, find the tools, find the books, find the resources that will guide me through proven systems to help with marketing my business. I don't need to have that along with being a CPA and do all my accounting, right? I don't need to do all of those jobs, but a lot of my cultural background is you need to be responsible for everything. Do all of it and learn all of it. You're smart, you need to catch it on. And it's impossible if you're going to own a business or run a business. I'm a solopreneur. I still, as a solopreneur, have a team. And thank God I have a team because I'm not going to be all those things. I love my lawyer. I love my accountant. They are my friends and my confidants, and I trust their knowledge and they trust my ability to deliver. And on the other side, I would say community. Like we're really great at building community. We know how to find our people and lean into that. And that's part of having a great business and having a long-standing environment where you can stay in the entrepreneurial space, is that you know people and your people know people. So if you ask me about something, I usually know someone, or I know someone who knows someone. And that's very much our community, right? That our culture is that everyone knows a guy, everyone knows a girl, knows someone who can help. And that really does help is something that I lean into that is almost a natural state because that's how we operate, right? I know who makes the rice and I know who makes the pernil and I know who can bring dessert that's going to, blow our minds. We all know the people who know the people. And so those were the big things that I found is challenges and opportunities is really from our culture.
I see. For community and outsourcing, was there a particular example of a entrepreneurial project that really made you realize that?
Yeah, it was definitely on the marketing side, especially for the for my business work, whether it was the fitness center or the my consulting work, being able to create graphic design things to put on my social media and identifying that pattern. Like I spent hours and hours trying to figure it out until I realized this is not where my skills need to be applied. I need to be out coaching. I need to be talking about new things. I need to be developing new content. I have to focus in on my area of expertise. And when I found someone who could do the work and they did it in a quarter of the time, for not a huge price. They were just excited to be a part of this and we work together and, sometimes we share services or, find other ways to help each other. It was just amazing to me because it was one of those lessons where I'm like, oh, if I had thought about it outside of my normal go-to, which is figure it out myself, I would have saved myself a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of angst in an area that wasn't fun for me. It wasn't, but it was fun for my partner who she loved it. She was great at it.
Thank you so much for sharing. I think that's such a common thing to get stuck in. I have to be able to do everything within my business in order to move forward. All right, moving on to Abby. So Abby, your work is deeply rooted in innovation and resilience. What daily or ongoing practices help you maintain a confident, growth-oriented mindset?
Thank you so much for that question. Definitely one of the things I surround myself is feedback. So I definitely lean on it with my team of advisors, especially starting this venture. I try to have at least 2 to 3 people that I can get feedback from, whether that's in regards to the project, the innovation that I'm working on, or also the technology or anything else beyond that, like a pitch deck, for instance. So definitely being open-minded to feedback is super important. It's only there to help you grow. That's how I look at that as far as my growth mindset. Also, too, kind of every morning, you kind of just list down like, you know, like a reset, right? What are 3 things that I want to focus on today? It could be business related, it could be based on my full-time job, etc. And then kind of stick with that. And then almost have an accountability coach in a sense where you can pick, like I have a best friend where I lean on him for most of that. We're like, hey, these are the 3 tasks that I'm going to be working on this week, today, and you know, make sure you hold me accountable for that. Also, to tracking the micro wins. Being an entrepreneur, you're going to see a lot of failure, as Luz has mentioned, right? So definitely, when you win a pitch competition, or you know, you got this big grant, or being part of a webinar series, definitely tracking those small wins, because they become big wins, right? So you don't want to forget that all of that adds up to something. And then finally, also to just being in the mindset of putting yourself out there, visibility, right? I'm an introvert, so when I go to networking events, or even being part of a webinar, or or posting things on LinkedIn, sometimes that, you know, it could be a bit intimidating, right? But you have to put yourself out there, especially as an entrepreneur. You know, being a business owner, you have to be able to promote your company or your venture, right? So that's also to kind of challenging yourself every day, challenging yourself to do something different. And then the last thing also, to this kind of leans into like mental and physical health, being active. So I am a big Orange Theory fanatic, and so definitely having that ritual every single day, whether it's running, rowing, or weights, definitely will kind of resets me every day. So definitely some kind of activity to kind of definitely more of a stress reliever, because in my case, having a full-time job and pursuing this venture could be extremely stressful. So you definitely need some kind of outlet, healthy outlet, I should say.
Thank you. There were so many great gems in there, and I relate so much as being like an introvert. I guess my first follow-up is, so how did you balance, at least first starting out, the full-time work and also starting to develop your entrepreneurial efforts?
That's an excellent question, and I'm still trying to find out the work-life balance. You know, I would like to tell people there is a work-life balance. However, everything kind of meshes together, right? So I think definitely being organized on tasks that you realistically can achieve, right? So number one, I cannot say, oh, I'm going to go fundraise $500,000 by the end of this year. Probably not, because I don't have the bandwidth to do that. But being realistic, like, oh yeah, like I'm going to file a provisional patent, right, for instance, right? So, but also to recognizing where my strengths are, right? So like if I'm organized enough and I have a team of people that I can lean on to get guidance from, leveraging my network to get to that goal, recognizing that I have all of those moving parts is one thing, right? Also, to as far as balance, again, it's more about when it's my full-time job, I know that that is a 9 to 5 strictly, being very aware that there is no overlap there, right? But then also knowing that after 5 o'clock or after 6, I know that I have certain tasks I have to do for my venture or company. So being able to just be in a sense organized and strategic, right? And then also to I have a great student worker. Her name is Gwen here at St. Louis University. She's been helping me out a lot when it comes to a lot of the like customer discovery, traction, market analysis. So definitely being able to essentially hire somebody to kind of outsource some of the work really is helpful. So again, leveraging your network, having a group of advisors that you can get feedback from to kind of help you navigate this new system. And then also to recognizing at the end of the day, we're not superhumans, right? So at some point there is going to be a break even point. I haven't reached that yet, but for somebody who's just starting out, you'll have to set up a time frame where like at some point a year from now, I either pick my full-time job or this venture, right? So there will be because it's not sustainable, right? So recognizing that there has to be a point where you have to pick one or the other. I hope that helps.
And it definitely balance is such an important thing that everyone is still trying to develop as best as we can. So for Isaac, you've led a company through FDA clearances, patents, investment rounds, and national recognition. but every founder faces doubt at some point. Can you share a moment when self-doubt almost stopped you from pursuing your business idea, and what helped you push through this doubt?
Yes. Thank you, Lonnie, for the question. At some point, and probably many points, right, throughout your entrepreneurial journey, maybe every day, maybe every hour, right? It is a roller coaster. So when I think back and I reflect on this question, I think on like the personal side, I'll split it up, and then on like my professional side, like when did I have self-doubt on both? And on the personal side, like I started this company with my sister. I had a full-time job like Abby. I was at the University of Memphis as a research faculty there, and I started this company at the same time. So I was working two full-time jobs for about 6 to 8 months. And there was that light at the end of the tunnel, and I did have that, okay, I'm now moving to entrepreneurship full time. So great advice there, Abby. But when I think about it, starting the company with my sister, she moved from San Francisco. She quit her full-time job at Target Corporation in the innovation center in the tech hub of the world to move over to Memphis, Tennessee, where we are today, to start this medical device company, which is top two medical device city in the entire country. So she took a big leap of faith because she had a fiance that had just moved to San Francisco to be with her. And now she's moving here to start the company with me. And I just had this stress like, this is my sister. Is this the right thing? Like, I'm pulling her into this idea, but she knows the business. Okay, we're in it together. So, like, she moved into my one-bedroom apartments. Like, we'll figure this out. Like, are we really doing this to ourselves? Like, when do we say, like, okay, enough is enough? So, I carry that personal stress quite a bit because anybody that you start a company with, it's their livelihood, right? That's at stake. And whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's a co-founder, it's still you're in it together, and it's something that you want to make sure you're doing the right way, and so you have that extra added pressure. And if you think about bringing on any type of family, friend investors at any amount, $1,000, $20,000, like that's extra stress too because you're going to see them at Thanksgiving, right? Like next week. So what kind of conversations are those going to be? Things are going great, things are going terrible. So just know that working with family, working with friends comes with its own personal stress. Not that it's good, not that it's bad. Everyone needs to evaluate their own, but it was good for me at the end of the day because guess what? I grew up with her. I trust her, and any decision that she makes, I know I would make 1,000 times over again. So that also gave me an extra peace of mind. So that's how I was able to get through that side. On the professional side, like Lou said it perfectly, we're engineers. Like, how do we know how to do business, marketing, finance, regulatory, reimbursement, legal, like anything office related tasks, quality? What is quality management system? No idea. So I think back at when I was first starting and me first going on stage about to pitch my idea to investors at a conference. And it's like, I hope they ask all questions about the technology, none about the business, none about the business, because like that's the stress too, right? Am I good enough to be on stage to talk about my business? Because you're pitching a business. You're not pitching just a technology. What's your financial model? How much money are you going to make? When are you going to make that money? Are the investors going to get their money back? Who's the customers that you've spoken to already? What's their feedback? How much are you making on each one? What about your manufacturing? Can they do piloting and can they scale? Also, if you get to 10 million in revenue next year, can they do that? Or do you have to find somebody else to do it? So it's like all those business questions gave me so much anxiety going on stage because I would just revert to, let me just bring up my sister to answer these questions. And I don't look like a good CEO, right? Like a credible CEO. So I, surrounded myself with what Abby said, those few people and what I'll call my own board of directors, right? So you want people that have expertise in different areas and you create your own personal board of directors. And if you have a marketing question, you go to that person. You have a legal question, you go to that person. So Abby and I keep in contact all the time. Like whether it's a patent question, she'll call me. It's like, hey, can you go through this with me? So we each have somebody to go speak to, and that's what if you get anything out of this, just build your own personal board of directors so that you do have those people that even just socially that you can be like, I need an outlet to just hang out with you. Like that can be the social chair of your board of directors, right? On top of the legal and professional side. So I resonate with what everyone has said so far, even though we're not in the same sector of business, but entrepreneurship at its core is the same, and you go through the same steps. So yeah, happy to dive in more, but that's personal, professional side, and then definitely building your own board of directors.
I definitely relate to having my sister on my board of directors. She's like top advisor.
There you
Um,
go.
yeah. So how did you create this circle or find the people for your personal board of directors?
It's not really going out there saying I need a mentor, right? Because that is kind of off-putting, but it's going to networking events, it's going to places like these, asking, can I follow up? Can we connect? Hey, I have a very specific question. Do you have 10 minutes? Can we chat? And then it's just, it happens through networking like this. I also went through multiple accelerator and incubator programs. So that is a great way to continue to get to know different people. So like Y Combinator out on the West Coast, we got into that program. We didn't do it. It was more tech focused. We're more biotech. But we did one called 0 to 510, which was here in Memphis. And since then, we've done about 6 other accelerator incubator programs. Some of these come with funding. So it's a great way for you to get started and get some funding. Some are more hands-off, where they'll just let you do your own thing and you have like weekly check-ins. Others are like, all right, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., you're in classes and you have homework and you better submit your assignments. And that those are the ones that we did because neither one of us, my sister or I, has started the medical device company before. We haven't sold medical devices. We don't know what to do. So we didn't know what we didn't know. And that's very common when you start, is that you don't know what you don't know. And that's okay. So going through these programs, we were able to meet some experts and some you just gravitate towards and you want to keep, you want to keep in your inner circle. So some of my board of directors, I would say, are started off as business relationships and then you can see becoming more personal friends. Like those are the ones that you really want to gravitate towards because you can really ask the tough questions and not feel embarrassed, whether they're good or bad questions.
Right. Thank you so much. That's a great tip about the accelerator programs for both learning and networking. So thank you everyone for all your insights. Now we'd love to bring in some questions from the audience. And so just a reminder again, please post them in the Q&A section and make sure to upvote any questions you want prioritized. So I'm going to ask the one from Daniela. It was kind of touched on a little bit to just right now, but Louis and Abby, if you would also like to chime in on this one. So did you have a mentor who helped you during your entrepreneurship journey? If so, how did you find that mentor?
I guess I'll go. So it's been kind of interesting because so Isaac actually, so we've known each other for a very long time. The way we're connected was through a scholarship. We both were Gates Millennium recipients, so that's kind of the connection. But that is a great example where we met through, I believe it was just through a mutual colleague of ours. It's from lab, from because same interest, biomedical engineering, and then he ended up morphing into somebody that now currently is in the sense in my board of directors or board or advisory board. So just kind of sometimes it just when as you meet people, maybe through similar interests, similar fields, even jobs, they end up morphing into that person that somebody that you can lean on for advice. Also, too, in my case, it was said in my bio, I joined the St. Louis Accelerator program. And there, like Isaac said, like those programs are catered to not just help you launch your venture, but they also open up a network of people. And through those programs, you will find somebody that you can definitely talk to or give you advice on whether it's the financials or the technology. So definitely those programs allow you to open up more in a less intimidating way, right? Than just asking somebody, can you be my mentor? So I would say through the accelerator program, also through similar interests, whether it's, in my case was biomedical engineering. That's how I was able to kind of beat my board of advisors or mentors. Yeah.
I would also add, yeah, those are great points, Abby and Isaac. Those accelerator programs are phenomenal. The people you meet, the mentors included, the resources available, bar none. So if you can get into any of those types of programs, those are excellent. I would also add there are free programs available through the Small Business Association. There are mentors, the SCORE mentors, depending on your state. I know in New York State, we have the small business development centers that are regional resources where you can meet with a mentor who can help you with your business plan, who can ask you questions, connect you with folks within the communities that you live and work to build up your business. And so I've also paid for mentors and coaches. I paid for programs to be a part of that help me navigate the things I didn't know or had built-in systems that could help me figure it out and meet more people. So a lot of it is figure out what it is that you're willing to do, able to do, and stick with it, because most of these relationships are not going to happen where someone's going to hand you the things. That's not how it works, right? You can ask, I'm like a little kid in a playground. Will you be my friend? Will you be my friend? And not everyone's going to say yes. Some people are like, nope. And they go off and play with their stuff away from me. Fine. But I do find my people. Like I do ask, if you ask enough, if you're clear about your intention, if you're clear about your request, you will find the path. And so even just showing up here, finding folks within SHPE, the programs that we continue to have, and you come every month, like this is how we start building community, is that awareness of an introduction, and then you start hearing what their story is, you hear what their interests are, you see them in the chat, you see them at a convention, and that's how it builds, one experience at a time. And it's amazing to me how many people become like really close friends and allies over like a really short period of time, but we have similar interests and intentions, and we offer each other so much value. And so that mentor relationship, like I wouldn't just ask folks to be my mentor unless like they offer, but not everyone's got time for it. So how do you make it something that's mutually beneficial? What else can you offer to them in exchange, and so that they grow as well as you? And sometimes they want to do it out of the kindness of their heart. Not everyone can. So how do you make it so that everyone grows in this, and there's a lot of love and growth all around? It's just a beautiful thing.
All right, thank you guys so much. There's one question or a couple questions I'm going to combine from Victor and from Jonathan. This is maybe for another event on the how, but it's about how do you get the initial funding for when you're first getting your business off the ground? It seems like that's a challenge for a lot of people for starting out.
Yeah, the first dollar is always the hardest, right? Because people are investing in an idea. There's no tangible sales. There's no, it's like the evidence is coming. You have early evidence. So we started off with those accelerator programs. There are different accelerator programs for different stages. It could be you have a drawing on a napkin. There's an accelerator program out there for you to like tease it out. It's probably more around customer discovery, right? And that does sometimes come with money. So our program came with $50,000. That was our first investment in the company, and that was for a 3-month program. So we had to show how we're going to use $50,000. We stretched it out to about 6 months because I was working full-time job at the university, so I was able to stretch the salary a little bit more. So that was our first funding, but then we also did what I spoke about earlier, family friends. I think we raised around $25,000 from family friends to help us get through that early stage with the entire goal of raising our first big round that we needed to. Not like continuing to get 25, 25, 50, 50, because like that's not enough money for you to really hit milestones that mean anything to these larger investors. So the incubator programs give you credibility. Look for some that have funding. If you get into one of those and it's easier and I feel more comfortable then going to family and friends and saying, hey, look, someone else believed in us as well. I'm not just trying to go to my inner circle, but if you want to join in on this fundraising round, you'd be joining in as an investor with this accelerator program. So that's how we approached it. We didn't go to family friends first and say, please just invest in us and believe in our idea. We came in, with credentials and everything too, because we wanted to just be good stewards of our cash and show that we could do that. And then there's other accelerators out there. So if you have an idea and it's already, let's say, starting to get patented and you're just like, I'm not sure how to jump into scaling this, or then there's different programs out there for scale, for customers, we even just finished one about how to exit your company. If we were to sell our company next year, we need to strategize today. So how are we strategizing it and building up all the assets of our company so that we can be looked at from a larger company and saying that's the company that we want to buy for $100 million. So like how do you do that? And we don't know. We've never done it. And it's not starting a company, it's really more ending the company, but it's the same thing in as it was in the beginning is we have to find our circle of people, our own little board of directors, and then we went through this program and then so it's the same process that's just applied in different stages. When you're looking for investors, angel investors are typically the ones that are early stage. They like to be earlier. They like to bet on early ideas. So they have angel groups. Many in your town may have. So like, St. Louis Angels has a group. There's like in San Francisco, they have angels everywhere. I mean, there's angel groups. We have so many angel investors in our company in Memphis that happen to just be people that we've networked with, that may be a C-suite at FedEx or part of this family, right? Or whoever it may be, you just network and they're like, this is a cool idea. Are you guys looking for investors? And I didn't go up into that conversation asking for investment. I just went to genuinely share my idea and what we're doing and where we are. But by doing that, they catch on and they were like, this is something, let's your goal is let's get that next meeting. I want to dive deeper. I want to dive deeper. So don't try to close the check immediately. That's very off-putting. Try to get that next meeting, and that's the first step.
Right. Thank you so much for that answer. I'm gonna do this one. This one's good. Did you always have an entrepreneur mindset? What would you say to folks who are not natural risk takers?
I can start. I would say no way. Like I come from, like a long line of trades folks, and that was, we always worked and had union workers, and that was the way that we operated. Like you were going to go into a company, you're going to work there for 30 years and leave with a pension. And soon into my business life, I realized that was bad advice. Like that is not the life, that's not the world I entered into, that my parents had, right? It was not at all an option. So I had to create a whole different mindset around how I was going to spend my time, what could my career look like, and what other opportunities were there. So like Abby and Isaac, like starting it while I'm doing my day job, starting businesses or having side projects, we're more into the gig economy, we're into flexibility, we're into remote work. And when you have your growing lives, whether it's partners, family, other activities, some of us are not meant to be a 9 to 5 only person to live the lifestyle that we want to live. And so I had to keep learning what other options were out there and keep growing into these different spaces, because the folks that I grew up with and that were around me were not the ones to say, go do that. And if they were, they didn't know how. Their advice was not great. My mother was very generous. So she had a business, but her whole thing was giving it away. And I'm like, that's not how you run a business, Ma. You can't pay bills with, goodwill, right? And so how do you, so it was a lot of learning, a lot of trial and error, a lot of experiential learning, and finding all those folks to say, okay, what version of entrepreneurship works for me? And which version do I want to match my lifestyle? But it was definitely not something that I just innately wanted to do. But when I thought about what I wanted my life to look like, the way to get there was this path.
I'll just add just one more thing. Also, too, if you're not sure, feel free to interview somebody who is a founder or who's just starting their company. I think sometimes you don't know what to ask when you don't know, right? So definitely, you don't have to put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm going to go for an accelerator program or I'm going to start my company. But maybe just chat with somebody and and maybe spend a day with them, right? To see how their day to day is. And then maybe you can kind of iron out, maybe I don't have to be the CEO of my company, but maybe I can go work for a startup and start there. Yeah.
Thank you guys so much. We're gonna do one last question from the audience. So it's gonna be from Yul. So how do you overcome the feeling of I'm going to fail or it's not worth it? How do you embrace that failing as part of the process?
Yeah, I think at convention this was a hot topic too of just failure, right? And I'll put that in quotes because it's not the true definition if you look it up. Really in entrepreneurship, and I hope to see some head nods here, but failure is celebrated, really, because if I'm an investor, I want to put money in an entrepreneur that has been there, that has done that, that has failed and knows what not to do now moving forward. That was one of the earliest questions that we received was, well, what have you started before? Nothing. I was 12 years in academics. Okay, so you're going to use my money to then learn entrepreneurship? So it's okay. Just get started. And those failures are celebrated. They are character building. They are valued in the entrepreneurial space because you can confidently say, I started something and it failed, but you know why? Let me tell you this. And I won't do that again. What I would do is this. So it's the failure is not starting. I'll go back to the very beginning. The failure is saying, thinking that you're not good enough and not starting. By starting and not finishing, that's 90% of entrepreneurs out there. So you are building your tool set to be the sought after entrepreneur. I would rather invest in an entrepreneur that failed like 10 times because they know what not to do so many different times, and now they're going to be so hyper focused on what to do. So it's a mind shift. And then we also hear no a lot, and we have to be okay hearing no. And in my talk at convention, I mentioned this. We turn no into not yet. So I always ask them, it's a no for funding today. We're not going to be interested in the $1 million today. Okay, no problem. I'm not expecting a yes every time, but why no? Let me, I'm ready to write down. Well, because you don't have this many customers, you don't have this business plan, and it's this part of the business plan. You're the value, whatever it is, right? So then these are things that we can fix. Gotcha. So if I come back to you in 6 months and I fix all of these, it better be a yes, because there's no more reason to say no. Unless like you have more reasons to say no, I want to know those today so I can come back to you in 6 months and get that yes. So that's how we always treat the failures and the no's, is turning them into not yet, turn it into to positive and like critical thinking activities to understand what we need to work forward, and then get those yeses, because you will get 99 no's, but that one yes will be the one that propels you forward.
Wow, that's so powerful. Turning the failures into getting yeses. Somewhat related to that, the majority of our participants polled as exploring and learning. So what's one small step someone in the audience could take this week to move past fear and toward action?
I want to build on an idea Abby mentioned around the accountability buddy. I call them accountability buddies. So accountability buddy is find someone that is on the journey with you, or some friend, someone who's got their own journey. Doesn't matter. But check in, have a steady flow around doing something. Pick anything. Like you mentioned, 3 things, pick 3 things that you're going to do for the week, for the month. It doesn't even have to be anything long, but find someone to be on the journey with you, to hold you accountable, you hold them accountable, and then pick some things that are important and get them done. Just honestly, like Isaac said, not starting is the failure, not starting. So start with a buddy and get going.
I would
Okay.
add, the only other thing I would add is kind of like, and you'll learn this as you started your venture as customer discovery, but in this case, just kind of maybe think about interviewing just one startup or a founder, or even here in SHIP, you can probably find there's probably other engineers who started their own business. Just go ahead and interview somebody, and and I think that's a great step, just to kind of just immerse yourself in the world, right, of a startup, what a startup is, right, and I'm pretty sure maybe you'll get a few no's, but there will be somebody who will be more than willing to talk, to spend 30 minutes with you, maybe over coffee or through Zoom, right, to just kind of talk about the peaks and the valleys of a startup. Yeah.
And the only thing I have to add is go to you can start with Y Combinator as an example. Like go download their application or look what their application looks like. Any accelerator, any incubator that may be in your space. Like if you're in the medical space, look up 0 to 510 as an example. If you're in the tech space, go to Y Combinator, look at that application, and you don't have to submit it, but try to answer all the questions and see where the gaps are, because they're going to ask you questions like, well, how big is your market? And if you don't know, that's okay. That just shows where you have to do more work. What is your team? It's just me, but let me start building out who would be my first hires. What's your cost of goods sold? Like, well, I'm not sure, but let me start thinking about how much money I could make, how much could I sell it for versus how much I can manufacture it for. Let me reach out to a manufacturer. Maybe I just get a free quote from them and I can start understanding like, so that's a great way to start thinking about the pieces that you're missing because you have an idea and you have the bare bones of it, but you have the foundation and you need to finish building the house. So trying to fill out those applications and leveraging your time filling out those question gaps that you don't have answers to is a great use of time because when you're done with that, then why not hit submit and see if you get it.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you to our panelists for sharing your wisdom and experience. And thank you to the audience for your thoughtful questions. We had a lot of unanswered questions today, so some more practical, some more mindset. So please stay tuned for future events where we'll be addressing more aspects about the how and why. So we hope today's conversation inspires and empowers you on your own journey. Please make sure to answer the survey shown on the slide. The same one is going to pop up after the meeting ends. The feedback's going to help us to design future events like this one. Our future event coming up is December, where we're going to be focusing on the question, how do I start? All right, so thank you so much, everyone. We're ending a bit.
Thanks so much to our panel. Thank you, Lonnie, for moderating. I know there's no way we could get to everyone's questions. I've been making notes back here for our how do I start, because a lot of you asked really good questions for the how do I start topic. So we're already working on that topic. Definitely fill out the survey. I will send out a follow-up email with the recording. We'll try to get as many of those other questions answered for everyone as we can. So give us a little bit of time to get through all those questions and ask our panelists if they can help answer any of those, and we'll send those out to everyone so you can see the responses. And I will be sending out information about our December event very soon. We're trying to hone in on a date. It will probably be the week of December 15th. And so we're picking a date in there, and definitely join in the LinkedIn community. If you're one of our SHPE members, that's a great place to ask some of these questions and continue to engage in the community and share ideas, share resources. There's no way you can answer all your questions. None of us have all the answers. So I did hear Luce mention SCORE, and I actually met with them today at the Global Entrepreneur Week conference in Kansas City, and I'll be posting some information from them as well. So thanks for joining us at the launch of this, and we'll keep growing and we'll keep improving. And we're just really grateful to all of our panelists and Lonnie and all of you who took the time to join in today. So thanks so much. You know how to reach us. You've got my email. Feel free. Look forward to seeing you all online and at the event in December. Bye-bye, everyone.